All right, it is Friedo, and on this episode of Your Podcasters, we're going to tackle some excuses, some reasons why people don't start their podcast. And I got to tell you, just to pull the curtain back a little bit, I'm doing something today that I very rarely ever do, and that is do a podcast by myself. I do not feel comfortable just talking into a microphone and talking to you without having a co-host. But that's an excuse I'm going to try to eliminate right now and for the rest of my career, because I can do it. And you can do a podcast too. You've got plenty of reasons not to do it. I know that there's lots of excuses that you may have that keep you from starting. But if it's something you want to do, you need to overcome these obstacles. First of all, excuse number one, you think you don't have an audience. And you know what? You're probably right. You don't have an audience in the beginning. But let me ask you a couple of simple questions. First of all, you've got a Facebook page. Did you have an audience for your Facebook page before you started it? Your Twitter feed, your Instagram, any of your social media? You build an audience. And the way you build an audience is you bring them content, fresh content as often as possible. Give them a reason to want to see what you have to offer. And you can't do that unless you provide the content. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. I'm overcoming that obstacle of not having a co-host because I want to give you fresh content. The other reason, and this is a good reason, is you think you don't have the equipment. And I'll tell you this, you do have the equipment. If you've got a smartphone that can record, you've got the equipment. Now, I wouldn't suggest you do that, but that is one way to start a podcast, is just to record it straight into your phone and learn how to upload it. I can tell you that the best thing to do, if you have the budget for it, is to hire a producer. You don't have to hire me, but someone who has the equipment already. I mean, look, this isn't a $1,000 microphone, but it is pretty expensive. And it's not something I would suggest you go out and get before you've got some experience and decide whether this is something you really want to do. Utilize other people's equipment. Utilize other people's expertise, because I can tell you the recording part of this is very simple. It's very easy. Anyone can do it. It's the stuff that goes on after the recording that is not as fun and not as easy as the recording itself. So let someone else handle all that other stuff. You just come in, you get a producer, you let the producer handle all that boring stuff, and you just bring in good content. You don't have to worry about anything else other than providing good content to your audience. You don't have to make a huge investment in equipment or computers or memberships into websites or subscriptions to editing software. You can just bring in the content and let everyone else do the work. Another reason people don't do these podcasts is they think they don't have content. And that's the biggest mistake I think people make. Look, you have content. Everyone, including you, has a story. That's what I love about what I do. I get to talk to people every day when they're doing their podcasts, and I get to hear their stories. And I'm telling you, everyone has a story. You have something that sets you apart. You have something that you can offer to someone else. You have an expertise. You have a hobby. You have knowledge that you can share with other people. Everyone does. You may not realize it. You may not think it, but you do have a story. Another reason, and this is another good one, another excuse, is I don't have time to do a podcast. And I will tell you this, it can be time consuming, especially if you're doing it yourself. And I don't want to make anyone think that you can't do this yourself. You absolutely can do it yourself, but it can be very time consuming also. And if you're trying to do it yourself, once again, the recording is just a small part of it. It's all the other stuff that takes time, the editing, the producing, the uploading, the maintaining your feed. There's lots of things that go into a successful podcast that quite frankly, you probably don't want to mess with. That's why I think it's really good if you've got the budget, pay someone to do all that boring stuff. That way you can just come in, have fun, and record. Another reason people don't do a podcast is they think they're not important enough or that no one cares what they have to say. Well, that's just simply not true. You may not have a huge audience, but the point is you will have an audience. And your audience also is going to root for you. They want you to succeed. They are choosing to listen to you because they feel like you have something to offer, something to inform them about, something about your business, your service. People that don't even know you want to know what you know. They want to know your expertise. They want to hear your stories. So don't fall into that trap of thinking that you're not important enough to start your own podcast, because you are. And if you stay consistent enough, your audience will realize that, hey, this person is important enough to me that I download their podcast every week. Another excuse, it's way too complicated. And this, once again, is a good excuse. I mean, it can be complicated, especially all that back end stuff that I'm talking about, the setting up your feed, the editing, the producing. And that's why I just want you to make it as simple as possible. And if you can hire someone to do all that stuff, do that. If not, just learn to do it yourself. It's something you can learn. It's just not something I would suggest it's not going to maximize your fun. How's that? Does that make sense? Here's one that I have. I don't like the way I sound. Here's some breaking news for you. No one likes the way they sound on a podcast or on tape or even on a voicemail. When you listen to your own voice, it's the very rare individual who says, damn, I sound good. I can't stand my voice. I didn't like it before, and now I like it even less. But you've got to get over that. And that's something I'm trying to get over myself right now, is I can't stand the way I sound. But you can't let that keep you from doing what you want to do. So look, there's lots of reasons not to start your own podcast. And I can only tell you this. If you want to start your own podcast, don't let any of these reasons keep you from doing it. Because none of these reasons are good enough. Not one of them is good enough to keep you from doing what you want to do. So that's my advice to you. If you want to start a podcast, just do it. Go ahead and do it and get over all these excuses. Find someone who can take the work out of it. Find a producer who can allow you just to have fun, because this can be a lot of fun. People do want to hear what you have to say, and you do have a story. So I encourage you to give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. I do free consultations, and I do truly enjoy talking to people and hearing their ideas and their thoughts about what they want to accomplish with their podcast. So give me a call, 214-250-1321. Check out the website, FriedoNation.com, and I hope to hear from you very soon.